Welcome to Tales from the Tarot podcast, where you can learn about the tarot not from a book, but from people's lives. I'm your host, Tara, and I invite you to join me and my guests as we break down the human experience through story, myth, and archetypes. Today's guest is Diego Bucio. Diego is a cultural producer and tour manager since 2004. Since then, he strongly believes art is one of the strongest bridges to build community, heal, and enlighten paths, and promote locally his Mexican roots. He moved to Louisville, Kentucky 9 years ago, and when not on a tour, he teaches Spanish locally to all ages. So, Diego, you chose the Chariot card today. And just for anybody that might be listening that's a beginner tarot enthusiast, the Chariot card shows like this character that's like a prince riding into battle, or a lot of readers will call him like a conquestor. He's going on a conquest. So it's card number 7. You can find it in your deck. And you can also always pull out the star card to get more insight into the Chariot. They both have the stars on the card, and they are both related, the 7 and the 17. So, but yeah, Diego, I'd love to hear about your insights around the Chariot. So what draws you to the Chariot card?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for being part of this project. Is amazing. I would say the Chariot. I mean, the first time that I hear deeply about it, it was because of you when we did a session. I was specifically more in depth of these insights. But I think what really calls me more is the duality that is implicit in the archetype. I think that's very meaningful for me. Yeah, like like it's a duality right there, and in the middle is the person that is on charge of guidance or directionate those two. So yeah, that's what that means for me is a duality.
The duality. That's awesome. I love putting that with the Chariot card, because you do have that like black and white, the 2 different horses, like, or in here it's the sphinxes, depends on which deck you use. But so I would ask you, what does the Chariot mean to you, like as an archetype?
Yes, well, it's very related with duality as well. I think is as I mentioned that time, it reminds me a lot the Greek myth about the chariot and the soul that is trying to guide 2 horses, and one horse is the passion, and the other horse is the reason, and the rider is the soul. So, and that's a perfect picture for this archetype, having reason and passion, spirit and instinct, change and stillness. And in my case, what really threw me to that archetype powerful is inwards and outwards, and being inside in order to be outside, and vice versa. It's like this necessity of cycles that have to be, I don't know, like they need to be very precise when you start one, when you finish one, and to be very conscious and aware about those ends in order to be aware of those new beginnings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes me think of the seasons, how we're going into winter and about to go inward more.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a tale of the Chariot archetype in your life. a time you connected with it or had a chariot experience or really embodied this archetype?
Well, there are many examples. So, like on a personal note, I was had that always this growing up this image of carrying a shell, a turtle shell, has been always a beautiful metaphor of trying to be in my own self all the time, and also trying to let go that shell, that turtle shell, in order to be outside. So I think that, I mean, of course, in many levels, in different kind of relationships or in different paths. Of course, being an immigrant in the United States, also that turtle shell metaphor, makes more sense, gets more meaningful. But yeah, like that archetype is, like I will say, like to me, to discern when it's time to collect and to go inside that turtle shell. That you have it, like the turtles, they have their home all the time, wherever they go. So, but still, they can go inside and they can protect themselves. And in some point, I also feel like I could, when it's time, let go of that turtle shell, put it in standby, and go out, be exposed, be vulnerable, being fragile,
Yeah.
in order to go back again. And and I think that's a very very accurate metaphor of my life in many chapters.
I was gonna say, because you are a tour manager, you go on the road a lot, right? With bands, or you did, or you still do?
Yeah, actually, I'm going. Well, I went this year for the first time in March. I went back on tour. Um, I'm going in February again, um, with another band from Taiwan, and so yeah, so that's pretty much like being on tour and being all over and in a very rushed way, and could be stressful but also fun, and a lot of people, and you just use a lot of your energy to expand yourself and share many things, and I mean crowds share a lot of energy too,
Yeah.
and then to just go back and be in silence, and have these moments of reflection of, okay, what I collect this time, what is this, what is this experience, what was this flavor, what was this color that I didn't know before. And I think that's, is that's, for me, that's the chariot right there. There's this uh, double dynamic, double path.
So, what movies or pop culture influence do you think remind you of the Chariot?
In books and movies, when you have that kind of doubt, or when you have this kind of where the hero, where the main character is tempted by some power, that's the chariot right there. Like should I yield, should I, I was thinking, I mean, one great example would be Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment. That's I mean, it's a sublime example of pop culture, of the chariot, of this character that is, you hate him and you love him, and he's in conflict completely. He doesn't know how to deal with his needs, with his passion, and what he thinks is right. And is, I think, in that one, and more in a pop culture, I would say, like for instance, Lord of the Rings, with the Ring of Power.
Oh, the Rings,
Lord
yes.
of the Rings is, that's right there. Like try to everybody wants that power, but everybody also is scared about that power, and the wisest respect that power, and they don't want to be tempted by them, because they can't trust that horse to be tamed the way they want it. So so yeah, or even Star Wars with the Force and the dark side, and the, like the Jedi's and the bad Jedi's, and it's pretty much the same. They try to find that balance and discern in the two sides. Like, I don't think none of those um, tales denies one or said like that side is bad. Like, no, it's necessary. It's not bad. Like passion or instinct, those are not bad. Those are part of us.
Right.
You just need to learn how to balance them out. And what I have found out is honesty. Like if you put a crystal clear, vision between those, that helps you to know when to, like let that horse, one of those horses, take the direction, take the initiative.
And then how do we know without trying?
Right.
Sometimes we have to just take a risk and like see what happens and see what we learn.
Yes. So yes, definitely that's the whole thing, that you cannot be passive at all. Like the chariot itself implies movement.
Moving, yeah.
Is not something that will be useful or make sense if it's still, and
Right.
it's always like it has to be directed for one direction. But that's the key. Like when I should go right or when I should go left, you have to try. But I think the more honest with yourself, then the more you will be, the direction will align better with what you need in that moment.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I like how you mentioned respect power instead of being tempted by it or feeling like you have control over it. Respect it. That's kind of like the more masterful, like middle path. And it seems like the driver can be a better driver if he has that respect.
Right.
Yeah.
What I like that gets very well with the chariot archetype is the flexibility that this sign has. This it's like water, right? Like it can like take the shape very easily. So that's also very important to when you try to find this balance in this duality.
Mhm.
Um, so that's the way that I think like this emotional sign can be very, that challenge of having these emotions can be really resonate in the right way if you're aware of this duality. And I like what you said, because that's something that I thought about it too. Like if I have to say, like what should I do in order to discern what is the path or what is the direction or which one I should, like prioritize, I would say just do it. Just dare.
Mm-hmm.
Just go for it. If you are going to be in doubt all the time, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
And if you are honest, again, if you have this honesty on your side, it will be way, way easier. Like you don't know, nobody knows the end of all paths, right? So
Yeah.
you just need to go for it.
It's so cool that you brought up the flexibility or like the adaptability, and to think about being that adaptable and that emotional when you're on the road. Like when you're on the road or like having to have those big passionate emotions come up, because we are talking about the moon, like the moon is linked to this card and we see the moon on his shoulders. It's like he's carrying his feelings on his shoulders as he's moving on this journey. So it is interesting to question like how we drive that.
Right. Yeah, and literally when I'm in tour, it's like that. Like you cannot let your emotions and your feelings of frustrations or even happiness to drive you or to take the decisions. Like, okay, now we're going to stay more days here because we were so happy. Like you can't, or you just cancel this because I really didn't like him. And like you can't, or lose the temper. Like get mad or get sad, or it's you need to keep it like in motion.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. The movie that I think of with this card is like, is it called Troy with Brad Pitt?
Hmm.
Yeah. I think of like movies that have charioteers, like
Right. When the hero has to be resilient
yeah.
to the, to the temptation of power or money or drugs or sex, like, um and then you realize, like, well, there's a very healthy middle point,
Mm.
like I don't know why I always relate the chariot with um the scale, like the
Mhm. Like the
with the
scale
balance.
of the justice card, the scale.
Right.
Yeah.
Or Libra, like,
Yeah.
is, like, I guess because it makes no sense, a chariot that is completely chaos or a chariot that is completely order.
Yeah, it wouldn't go anywhere.
You need both energies. You need
Yeah.
fuel. They fuel each other.
It's so profound.
Like, one of the things, another of my personal experiences about this archetype would be also, when I like to dance,
Hmm.
and I go to dance often. Uh, and I remember, I mean, you were there at the beginning of the year. It was very, very challenging, very sad, very dark. And but then I remember, like, I don't feel well. I don't want to do anything.
Mm.
And some friends told me, "Are you going to stop going to dance?" And, like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, I don't feel like dancing at all. I mean, I'm happy. Like, and then they insisted you should do it, especially because of that. You should do it.
Mm.
And it was so, like, they were so right,
Wow.
because it's not like I was pretending or I was just happy suddenly dancing,
Mhm.
but I learned how to dance in chaos.
Wow.
And when you learn to do that, then it's way easier to go back to order,
Mm.
just to go back to chaos again, but then there's no drama, because then that's the rhythm, that's part of the dance.
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel like you can apply this to anything in life. Like anytime there's a polarity or a duality with anything, you can apply this, and how we use those polarities to move us forward.
Right. Exactly. That's the thing, because you cannot stay in the same spot after having this wave, like this wave of the ocean that changes you, and then takes something away. Like, you are not in the same
Yeah.
spot, not in the same time, not in the same space. So, like, being aware of that will, gives you a lot of these skills of dancing in chaos.
It makes me think in my life, well, I have this motto that I say, fuck around and find out.
Right. Yeah.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And so you keep moving forward with that in mind. But I fucked around and like started in OnlyFans, and it only lasted for like 2 months, but I learned so much from that. And now doing that that was one polarity. That was like one
Mm.
duality. And doing that, like I shot up to the other polarity, and now I'm doing a podcast. So it's like,
Right.
it is interesting how like they work together. Like polarities always play off each other.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah, and then you need to find out, those extremes, but how you're going to know if you don't go and try the extreme, in order to see, okay, this is where I feel,
yeah, that's integration, right? That's how we integrate. And except with the chariot, it's more about like movement, like forward motion, I think. Yeah.
yes. I think I told you about that time about the spirals, the um like, in my mind, the tortoise shell that I imagine, it's kind of like, it's not like a turtle shell, of course, like like a real one, but it's
Yeah.
like it has like an entrance, but then it goes in a spiral inwards, and inwards is where is your home, your core. your intimacy, like, like, is your own individuality. Nobody else can go there. But it's a spiral. The path is a spiral, because in each curve you can see people, or you can see experiences, or you can, like, and you collect things to go to the core. And to go out is exactly the same process, but the opposite. Like, but like the spiral allows you to do that. Like, keep doing that round, but again, you are not in the same spot. You're not in the same point in the spiral until you're out.
Oh, I love that.
So for the pre-Hispanic cultures, the turtle represented, like, if you see it from the top, you can see the 4 cardinal points: the north, the south, the west, and the east. But if you see it like in the side, you can see the shell is the celestial dome, the cosmos.
Yeah.
The animal, the turtle, is a realm, a living realm, the earth. And then the belly, the part, the under, will be the underground, the underworld. So it has also the 3 realms, like the celestial dome, the infra world, and 4 realm, plus the 4 cardinal direction. So the total is the axis mundi, like the axis of the world all the time. Like, she knows where she is. She knows, and that's why it's a very powerful animal in pre-Hispanic cultures, and with all these kind of extra elements, that I think is great.
So cool. I never had heard about the turtle like that, described in that way.
Yeah, and it's funny because, when in one of those walks that I took when I was, early this year, walking in Cherokee Park, I took one of these trails that, like, I wanted to be by myself. And then I started climbing, and then suddenly I saw the turtle right there in the path, not in a pond or not in the, in the stream. It was just right there, didn't move. It was right in the middle of the path. Nobody was there. And, so that's, for me, I took it. This is a sign that it's time to go inside again.
Love that. Oh, yes. And so many times I see turtles like that and I don't follow the message.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah. I think I do believe in those messages to be delivered, like, many times during the day, many times by different ways, could be the trees, could be the shape of the sun.
Yeah.
But we need to be aware, and we're too busy. Our mind is too busy.
No.
And when you listen, then you just start, like, notice them, like, okay, yeah, like, it's, I ask for help, and here it is.
Yeah. I had a cool experience this summer where I kept seeing this hawk. And the hawk would land right outside my window. And then it would be doing something like eating a mouse in front of my window or fighting a snake outside my window. And I called a friend about it because she does intuitive animal readings. And she was like, yeah, this is telling you that you need to, like, go after what you want. She's like,
Right.
you need to hunt and, like,
go hunt.
Do it. I was like, cool.
And what did you do? It was when you opened your OnlyFans?
Yeah, it was like right around that time, and kind of just went after some offerings that I wanted to do that were more bold, tapping into a more instinctual side of me. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I think the Greek culture was, like, well known for having even mechanisms and hints to listening those messages, especially in dreams. Like they said, like, the gods, that's the way that the gods communicate with us, with the dreams, within the dreams. And during the day, whatever you're doing, whatever you reflect. So that's why it's so important to reflect early, like the first thing in the morning, and also before going to bed too. Okay, what happened today? It was not just another day, like what, like try to remember what you did, and if you can remember any message,
Mm.
or guidance, or sometimes like encouragement, or warning. Sometimes it's like that, like, and it's like it's most of the time I think those are accurate.
Mm-hmm. That's great. A great thing to be aware of. Yeah. Conscious living, being more conscious of the life you are creating every day.
Right. And like also how like how, like talking about this, going back into the turtle shell, like how you share your energy, your time with anybody, and how to be, more selective maybe, and more careful with that, because all those things are super important too.
Yeah, because when you're on the move, if you make a wrong turn or move or something, you could wreck. Like
Right.
you could go off course completely. You could just lose the goal,
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to support and explore my work further, you can subscribe to patreon.com/readings and rituals.